So this is my late entry in. I know you all were waiting for that second video to come out, like I was saying, but I had a lot of things that I had to do and take care of, and I decided that I was going to take my time doing my stuff and not trying to stress out over something that is just getting started. So here's the video. It'll be out today. I recorded it 2 days ago, just haven't gotten to finish it and really get going on that because I've had a lot of things that I really have needed to get done with. I'm going to get better at looking in that camera. I'm just not used to any of this. So I'm going to get a little better at it too. I'm working a little harder. Just get ready to enjoy the video. Talk to you later. Should be good to go. Okay, so I was thinking about it for a lot of today, and I was really trying to make something that didn't come off as being planned or anything like that, because the entire last video was really me just sitting down and opening up. So I've waited a while to do it. I'm getting this one done a little bit late, but I feel like it's the right time, and it's what I needed to do. What I decided that I was going to do was I'm going to make this video kind of me telling you guys who I am. And a little bit about where I'm coming from, because all of a sudden there's just this person with all these weird ways of putting things. And just making it sound so vivid and so crazy. And so I guess I really need to explain where I'm coming from. Let's start where this all began for me. Probably about 3.5 years ago now. I thought to myself that I just wasn't thinking. Like, I didn't feel like I was doing things and being really my own individual. And I just could not understand what it was, because sometimes I would feel blank. I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, oh man, I want to think about this. I want to be able to do this or do that. And I just couldn't see myself doing it. So I started doing some research about all of this information that's out there that has to do with a lot of religion. That's really where I guess I would say it started. Was me asking fundamental questions about myself. So I started with my religion. I started with Christianity. I was born and raised into Christianity. I can't even remember a time that I didn't go to church in my childhood. I never asked any questions about that because I knew that asking questions, like going against the word, is a sign of being manipulated by the devil. So that's what I always thought it was. I really thought that all these doubts and all these questions that I ever had about what I was learning was just me being manipulated to turn away from God. And now I understand it a lot more. That's for sure. I went and learned things the hard way. But so I started researching all this and started asking myself, who was Jesus? And like, what were all of these things that this book is about? And where does this all start and where does it all come from? And so I started seeking truth. Well, to understand truth, you have to understand who you are. So I started digging into myself, and I started coming across spirit science. Was really the first one that started helping me understand what I needed to even be looking up, and all the things that I needed to start learning about and understanding. So I did start with learning about the chakras, and to me now, honestly, that's just like language, like the English language is. Like, the understanding of the chakras that we have is just set information that everybody else has learned and can communicate between each other. It's a system. It's a system that does not need something to explain it. It is what it is. And the more that we understand it, the more we can explain it. But really, in all actuality, it is the miracle of life. It is the very something that it is, and there's no amount of our knowledge of it will ever change what that is. And so, seeking that truth I dug into myself, where you have to start digging into yourself, which is in your fear. And you go into those dark places that are inside of you, because when you're afraid of yourself is when you're dark. Because you're not looking at the something that you are. Like, that immediately creates an unknowing, and if you don't know what something is, our brains immediately put that in the dark. We just don't know it. And that's how we see it, because it's just the way we were raised. It's the way we think about things. We think we have to see things to know things. It's our logical brain. So for the logical brain to understand itself, it uses its logic. And that's part of the logic that we have as a human race. And I mean, that's how it has to be. We use our five senses to physically survive. So that's where you have to start digging, is the fear. And when I dug into my fear, I found a lot of things. I found a lot of small things at first, just because it's where you start to see little bits of yourself. Like, oh yeah, I know for a fact I'm afraid of that. Like spiders. Oh man, yeah, I know that if I see one of those, I'm jumping away. But digging into the fears that cripple you is where a lot of people get this anxiety, and they get this overwhelming rush of, I cannot do this, because that emotion is inside of us. And when we go into it, of course, you're going to experience it. It's the thing you're hiding away. It is you going into that darkness, and to go into it, you are actually taking it in and analyzing this information that is who you are. And so every piece of it is going to overwhelm all of you. So when I went in to my darkness, my family was the big one. I was really afraid to reconnect with everyone in my family. I had turned away from them 100% wholeheartedly, and I denied that for a long time. I denied every piece of me turning away from them, because I really didn't care. I was selfish. That's a big part of what happens to us, is we get really selfish when we just take love out of our lives for other people. It's all one big line of communication, and when one piece of us is feeling something, it's because the other ones are lacking. That's what balance is. Balance inside of a person is understanding that when you have more of one emotion, it's because you have less of another. And to be able to balance yourself, you have to see what you have to know what you're missing. That's why we have light and dark. That's why we have good and bad. Anybody will tell you that for you to know these good times, you've had to have some rough times. But it's true. Taking that in and understanding what you have and really using that to see what you don't takes time. It takes a lot of your effort and a lot of your willpower to go inside of yourself and start working on these things that you have to work on. So, as I delved into this fear of my own, it took me 6 months. So that tells you anything, everybody. It's not easy. It's not something you do in a week. It's not something you do in a month. Man, sometimes it's not something you do in a year. And that's what a lot of people are worried about. Now that we've got cars, now that we've got technology to where we can access information immediately, we all think 100 miles a minute. That's why the ADHD epidemic is happening, is because we as a civilization have not really adapted to the level of information that we have at our fingertips. And so everyone's thinking way faster than they ever used to. And even for me personally, I know that for a fact. Like, sometimes I really can't keep up with how fast I think about things. Now, it's interesting when I make these videos, I don't feel like that. Actually, I feel like I'm a little bit slower than normal. And that's weird for me, because it's like I'm always trying to explain something that is like a painting to me. Like, I see this whole image as I'm talking to you guys about this, and I'm trying to put words to what I actually see. And that's why it seems like I'm always pausing, because I'm looking at this. It's like I'm looking at a book, like I'm reading something that is in a whole nother language, and I'm just talking to you guys about what I'm reading. It's kind of like that. It's metaphorical, but it's interesting to me actually being able to sit here and do this for all of you guys. Like, the reason I literally do this is because I want people to hear this information that need it. Like I did so desperately when I was searching for all of this. Everything that I ever needed, I did not stop looking for. I searched endlessly for it, and I had all of the faith in the world that I would find what I was looking for. And that's really what led me to a lot of answers. But all of those answers brought up more questions, and it was just constantly a step-by-step process that I had to keep making. And that's why we can't give up. When we give up on our dreams, when we give up on anything that we really believe in, that is us letting go of all of the things that make us passionate, make us happy. And why would we give up on that? I mean, so many of us struggle with that problem because a lot of society is limited based on money, based on everything you can and can't do. If you don't know this, you can't do it. You got to go learn it. And that restricts so many beautiful people from being able to do what they can. And a lot of people, we're only able to go to school for free until we're a certain age. And by the time we get to that age is when we're just starting to figure things out. And we're thrown into this whole situation where now we're not only figuring things out, we are on a time crunch because we're trying to survive and take care of everything that needs to be taken care of for ourselves. And we have to do it in all of these different ways where we could either go get this education and continue the process that we're going with if we have the resources and that we're capable of doing something like that, or we have to go into this job and become accustomed to thinking like that instead of thinking like we have when we were in school, just so that we can pay some bills and possibly move forward with a dream that we have based on our own limitations. And that's why people are ed up. Like, people have middle-age crises and all of these things is because they've got limiters put on them. They're literally chains that they're carrying because the rest of society is carrying it, and they're like, well, we gotta carry it too, so just tough it out. And it really, the ones that are telling us that we have to wear these chains aren't wearing them. They're standing there watching us all struggle. And it really saddens me. Like, I feel it. I mean, everyone feels it. Like, this isn't something that you can just get away from right now in society. It's one of the reasons that society is so messed up. We act as individuals instead of acting as an entire life force. All of us together are like the buds of the most beautiful tree of life that there ever was, and this tree is making itself self-reliant, capable of so many wonders. Look at where we live. Look at the things that we have. We have done so much with life here. Really have. And for us to destroy each other because we want more is creating less. It's a backward cycle that is just eating this world alive. Ego is rooted in the past. Ego is rooted in all of these ways of thinking that have come from all of the things that have been thought. That's why emotion lingers, because emotion is real. In this moment, you can still remember when you were hurt as a child, as an adult, as a teenager, any of it. You can still remember a moment as if it is happening right now, because that moment was that real. And that moment is a part of the background that is forever going to be what you're moving forward from. I like to think of it like a stack. And every part of the stack is what makes the whole. And you can't just take one piece of the bottom of the stack and let it just disappear. I mean, in some people you can, and it'll just shorten them, but really, it's just blacked out. I guess you could say it's just forgotten about. It can't go anywhere. It doesn't just vanish, and so that's why I'm trying to think here. I started losing my own train of thought. Oh, but so for me, after I was able to get over all these fears, I started finding out who I was inside of myself and outside of myself. I started witnessing all of it. And I gave up on everybody else around me because I needed it so much to be able to figure myself out. Like, all of the other people that I let in my life really kind of made me think of myself in a certain way. And I always wanted that because I didn't really have a lot of friendships that I could feel as being them accepting me and me accepting them and, like, working together with it. At least as a kid, I never felt like that. And so it lingered into my adult life, so deeply, because all I ever did was try to be something for the people around me. And so, to let go of all of that, I let go of everybody. I didn't ever let go of those ideals. That took me a lot longer. But I let go of everybody in my life because I had to start doing things on my own and doing things for myself. And so, so I went on this incredible journey as a guru. I opened my eyes and I opened myself up to fully dedicating my time and my energy to finding the truth that I was looking for. I knew I would find it. I knew. There was no doubt in my mind. I just had to put it in front of me and make it happen. Well, this was a long process. A really long process. And as I was doing it, a lot of what led me to come to all of these understandings that I've gained was everything I would think about. I did doubt. I doubted it greatly because just like any smart person would, any great mind would, they want to question everything. I questioned all of it. I questioned whatever the heck I could question. And every time I asked these questions, something would happen that would make perfect sense with what was going on with me. And I would be so shocked. I couldn't even understand it. I couldn't understand it at all. It was like God was speaking directly to me through the things that I would go through every day. And I guess that's part of what you could call your intuition, your inner knowing. I just had this inner flow. I was in the moment of everything that I needed, and when I would feel like I shouldn't do something because I was insecure about it, and I would do it, all of a sudden everything would fall into place, and I would feel the victory of that moment. And so I kept going. I always followed that. I knew that this was where I was meant to go, and I saw it through all these moments. And that really is how I can speak the way I can, and I understand things the way that I do, is because a lot of the things that I talk about are actually moments I've gone through, and things that I've seen and I've dealt with. And I truly believe that the only things that you can know are that which you have gone through. You can't really know something until you've actually been through it, experienced that moment, and held it in your hands. You can read all you want to about it, you can talk all you want to about it, you can look at it all you want, but in that actual moment, it's a different game. And that was what meant the most to me, was having these moments of clarity that opened my eyes. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but I'm going to talk about it some more tomorrow. This will probably be a 3-part series is what I'll make it on YouTube. This will be part 1. because I want to keep these videos at least around 15 minutes or somewhere near there, so that it's not too much for somebody to watch at once, especially for anybody who wants to keep up with me. I really want to do this in a way that when you hear my voice and you hear me talking, it's like I can give you some peace. And like you have somewhere that you can go that somebody actually wants to talk about some of the things that are hard to talk about. Because it's not really hard for me to talk about this anymore, because I mean, I have sat there for years and talked to myself about this. I have seen all of my emotions in ways that are just so amazing and beautiful, and I can't wait to share all those moments too. I have more stories than I could really fill up time with. Like, it's crazy. Sometimes I just get lost in how many things I've been through, and really for the last year, I kind of stepped away from all of it. I went through a lot of who I am as a person in this last year, and developed as a person, and kind of, in a way, put all of the spiritual, all of my spiritual walk behind me, and it kind of helped, but it really dawned on me in the last couple of months how much I had forgotten about all of the things that I'd been going through, because I had gone so far back. And really, when it comes to ascension and when it comes to enlightenment is like a frequency wave. It literally has its starting point, and how it works is when we are gaining information, we're going up on the frequency wave. But when we are using that information, and we're not really gaining information, we're just experiencing the information, is when it's a down. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going down necessarily, but what it means is that you are going through a moment where you're not learning, you're experiencing. And you're taking this moment to begin to then use that low information that has led you to here as the push to learn about all of those moments. And once you learn those moments, you are accessing new information with yourself, and it is rising on the wave again. So to all of you who have felt enlightenment and feel as if you do not have enlightenment anymore, this isn't true. You're riding the wave. You have to take control of how far you ride, because I promise the wave will look like this sometimes. It can be anywhere. It can be all over the place. It's you. It's your story. It's what you make it to be. And so you can access any part of yourself at any given moment. A lot of us are accessing some of the negative features of ourselves. It's not wrong. How else can you know something unless you use it, unless you experience it, just like I was saying. So taking that into our minds, we can understand that all of the things that we're going through are not bad things. They're things we have to overcome. We would not be experiencing these moments again unless we were stuck. Unless we were stuck in our feelings. And that's when you feel it the most. When you're stuck somewhere and it's time to get unstuck, it's gonna feel. Oh man, people talking about getting stuck in the fields, that's it right there. That's really what it is. And so, this will be the end to the first part of this 3-part series. I'm going to make the part 2 tomorrow. I'm hopefully going to do it earlier than I did this one. This one probably won't be on the internet until tomorrow morning. And so, I bid you adieu. Talk to you guys later.